Welcome to Often Pacing on Tab Radio Racing and Sport. Tim Walker will be joined by Matt Young and Oliver Cownie as they delve into the form for today's Pinjarra harness meeting, as well as an early look at tomorrow's meeting at Gloucester Park.
2002 bidding at 2-2, bidding at 2-4, 2-4, that's 2-5. That's a 2-5 going what?
It's a very good morning, everybody. Welcome along to Often Pacing this Monday morning. It is great to have your company, and hopefully you've had a wonderful weekend and enjoyed all of the harness racing that has unfolded. A big night, of course, at Gloucester Park on Friday night, starting it all off, and that is going to be very much the focus over the next few moments, because that's how we get the program underway with Ollie Cownie and Richie Bell, who I'll introduce in a couple of moments' time. They'll go through Friday night and also a look ahead to today and tomorrow. And we'll also hear from Cap Warwick a little later on this morning. So plenty to work through on Often Pacing over the next little while. But let's not keep our guests waiting any longer. To you, Ollie Cownie, who was seeing them like beach balls last week, a very good morning.
Morning, Tim. Good to get a few home.
Certainly was. You were going along very nicely. A couple of winners at Pinjarra and followed it up for good measure last Tuesday at Gloucester Park. And great to welcome in Richie Bell to the program as well for the first time. We get his great work on the voiceovers there. Rich, good morning.
Hey, good morning, Timmy. Oliver as well. Yeah, great to be here this morning. And it was a really good card there on Friday night. Some very hard-fought victories compared to the previous week. We saw a few horses get away with things a little bit, Diego and the Mickey Taker and Jetstar, whereas on Friday night, a couple of horses came from last. We had a couple of photo finishes. We saw Waterloo with that battle of attrition with exceptional armour. So it was a very competitive night's pacing. Yeah,
it certainly was. And let's get stuck into it. So, Ollie, you've got a few horses to follow, and we'll bounce those off Rich, and he'll throw out a few horses to follow as well. And you're not wasting any time, Ollie. Straight to the top of the program, where we got to see, of course, October Rain take this race out, was able to get the job done there. But one horse, one of the veterans of the field that is ticking along quite nicely, Rock Me Over.
Yeah, October Rain was a really impressive winner in the end. Once he found the front, it was really pretty much race over, and he won pretty comprehensively. But a horse in behind, Rock Me Over, in a race that became a bit pegs-dominated. It's a bit of a dash home. I thought he was a super effort. He was 1 out, 2 back in the run, forced wide really early, 4 wide on the turn, and he was coming home strong still at the end, and I think he was coming home stronger than those horses on the pegs that were suited. So I thought he backed up some really good, consistent form leading into the race, and it appears that a win isn't far away for him.
No, certainly not. Rich, I dare say you're echoing the same sentiments with Rock Me Over. The old boy's racing well.
It was a good run if you consider that it went fairly wide on the track from the 400 metres, whereas a horse like Disco Under Fire was one off the pegs, and in the straight, Rock Me Over put 2 or 3 lengths on Disco Under Fire. And that was an indication of how well Rock Me Over is going. And I agree with Ollie. It was a really good effort. Tubbs Farquhar was good as well, because looks to have come back well. He's in again tomorrow night. He's drawn 7. It's a little bit awkward for him, and he's rated at double figures in the early prices. But it wouldn't be surprising to see him run a really good race as well.
All right, Ollie, the next of your horses to follow, we go to what was on paper a really interesting race, and it certainly played out the way that I guess many thought that it could have, with a good price each way winner. And Little Happy Fella is just racing tremendously well at the moment, but gee, one of the fancied horses here is ready to win a race that you're about to tell us about.
Little Happy Fella, he was a really good winner, and we've been following him recently. I didn't manage to find him on Friday, but just continues to step up and is racing really well, as you said. But a horse, in behind the favourite, Celestio Matuka, just absolutely no luck. Looked a really strong, deep race, and he was caught wide early and made a strong challenge for the breeze before having to snag back to last on the fence, and didn't have the clearest passage in the concluding stages, but was still hitting the line pretty strong and only beaten 10 metres in the end, which was a fantastic effort given the ground he covered and the work he did in the race. And I think he's one that wherever he draws soon, if he's able to find that spot outside the leader, he'll be really hard to beat, I think.
Rich, just to you on this race, this was probably one of the more intriguing races, if not the most intriguing race on the card. How did you come away from it?
Yeah, I think there'll be really good form out of the race. They did run a 1:55. Yes, they only came home in 29.2, which saw a horse like Jetstar able to look like impressionably be thundering down the outside to just miss. But it was only a 29.2. But it's the overall time there of 1:55. And there was so much depth in this race. And if you considered it over the last 100, Rockmaster had a really good run, saw some clear air there and could only sort of even out and battle away into 5th place. And Magnus Victor, who sat close to the speed in the 1-1, and he was really flat that final 100 and was losing ground on the horses in front of him. He ended up finishing 8th. So you consider that, and then you look at Celestio Matuka, as Ollie said, having such a torrid run, having to go back, and then running on again, beating home Magnus Victor, finishing not far away from Rockmaster, shows that it was a really good effort. But there was so much to take out of the race. Little Happy Fella's just going from strength to strength. I mean, he really stepped up again from his previous start, where he beat an inferior field, and yet he's still been able to come home 3 wide, storm to the front, and then hold them out over the final stages. So it certainly was a terrific effort, and Debbie Padberg's stable going exceptionally well. One back in the field, Ollie, I don't know if you've noticed, Ideal Tomato, who Stuart McDonald said in the interviews he was going to drive it cold. It got back on the pegs and looked to have plenty to offer over the final 100 when getting held up for a run. So he's another one. If he draws again to lead as he did 3 starts ago, he could pinch another one at headquarters on a Friday night.
Certainly could. And Ollie, to you, the last of your 3 horses to follow here comes out of the feature event, which was actually quite exciting in the end. Obviously a short price favourite winning it in Better Get On Pip, and has certainly done a good job in a couple of starts back. Got a little bit scary there late with Jax's Ideal flashing, but you're going to identify one that finished midfield here who I've got a little bit of time for as well.
Did look a race on paper that if Better Get On Pip was able to find the front, she'd be really, really hard to beat in, given she was so dominant in her previous start. And a long way out, it looked like it was going to be that race in 1, and Better Get On Pip was going to pull away and win pretty easy. But as you said, it was a lot more exciting than that, with Jax's Ideal flashing up the inside and nearly pinching it. Would have been quite an amazing victory from Jax's Ideal. But a horse to follow from in behind them, Stella Deliziosa, 1 out, 2 back in the run, was really impressive to finish off powerfully down the outside into 4th, but was the first runner off the pegs to come home at the finish. And I thought in a race that did get a little bit pegs dominated, with a possibly disappointing Highview Hardy in the breeze, not able to back up. Really, really impressive win at this trip recently. I thought Stella Deliziosa was really good there, and if she's able to draw the front to lead in a race, I think she'll be really, really hard to beat, as long as Better Get On Pip is not on the race, who's just turned out to be a really dominant 2-year-old filly.
Rich, did you think that Better Get On Pip was any chance of getting beaten through the closing stages, or did you think that there was enough of a buffer that she'd have enough in the tank?
There was a fleeting thought there. I thought maybe she just had enough in the tank, but I can tell you there was a few exasperated owners downstairs watching them on the grass in the final stages, as she just ripped onto victory. And obviously there's a massive bunch of owners there, including Gostrich, the big boy, Timothy, and they're pretty relieved after the race, which is understandable, as Ryan was looking to his right, and then this horse has just flashed through along the inside. One other horse I was going to make mention to on the night, I thought was really quite unlucky, and the horse is going exceptionally well, is Little Bit of Fun. It raced in race number 3 in the Ira Pool race. It was very, very badly held up. And just going back on the horse's form 4 starts ago, this horse actually sat in the breeze and just got beaten out of a place behind Mungatahi. At its next start, it came out at Gloucester Park and was held up for a run there behind Hale St. Louis, was coming through late and was only about a length and a quarter off the winner. It was a very good run. And on Friday night, I thought was really terrific. It dragged back to last, shot through along the inside to be about 3rd last on the turn, and stayed there only because it was completely, hopelessly blocked for a run. And this horse is going really well, a little bit of fun. As he draws a gate, and you might get double figures about him on a Friday night, I think he's capable of winning one.
Yeah, that was going to be the next question, if there was anything else to follow. So a little bit of fun, certainly one there for Rich. Anything else that caught your eye, Rich, on Friday night before we do let you go?
And not so much on Friday night, but at Bunbury on Saturday night where I was down there, there was a horse called Master Leighton who really went under the radar. He went back to last in the Gully Gum race, and I thought was making really good ground over the final stages. And I think he's in tomorrow night as well. So he's a horse that is just sort of not being noticed by many punters at the moment. But if he draws a gate, Master Leighton, I think he's going well enough to take something out at a bit of a price.
Okay, all right. And just an eye towards tomorrow night. Have you had a close look, or do we tune in? I know it was good listening last week on Drive in your segments with Marty and analysing the races, and then obviously throughout the course of the night once Drive did finish as well. Have you got a little sneak preview for us this morning on Off and Pacing ahead of tomorrow night?
Yeah, look, I think it's a really good card. The first 6 races, there's a lot of horses who have got some reasonably good form in the midweeks at the moment, and there's full fields as well. So very good card the first half. It does taper away late, the last 4 races, and although we get to see Tualua again, it's very good finishing second last start. He'll be very short though. But Heng Heng does look the winner. I noticed it's being assessed at around $1.75. It's drawn 1, but when you consider this horse ran second back in February behind Steal the Show, it should be getting away with this race 6 at $7.42. Heng Heng. Another one who I thought might run well is Tapswakwa, who I mentioned. I thought it was a good run on Friday night. He backs up again. And in the same race, Who's the Dad? I'm wondering what Ollie makes of this horse, Timmy, because he was good first up, sitting in the breeze at Pinjarra, and then last start he was really disappointing after sitting outside the leader. Ryan Bell can turn them around. It's a race with a few chances, including Retiro Raider, Road Closure, American Bullet, Micapello. Ollie, it's an interesting card, but this race in particular, race 4, looks pretty tricky.
I thought Who's the Dad looked just about the winner last start on paper pre-race, but as you said, terribly disappointing. Who's the Dad finishing off in 6th and was pretty weak going to the line late. So I think for him to be able to win this race, he'd really need to lift off that effort, and they step out to 2,500 as well, which off that effort last start probably doesn't look suitable.
All right, well, we'll have a deep dive into that very, very shortly, of course, with your couple of selections, Ollie, there that are coming up. Rich, in the meantime, thanks for jumping on the phone for us today. We do appreciate it and appreciate your thoughts on the card on Friday night, and good calling here tomorrow night. We'll catch up with you again very soon.
Terrific. Thanks for that, Timmy.
There is Richard Bell with us on the line. All right, Ollie, let's get stuck into your horses to keep an eye out for. And as I said, obviously 2 winners last week at Pinjarra out of 3, and of course 2 for 2. So you were seeing them very nicely here at Gloucester Park last Tuesday night. You're going to get underway in race number 2 today for the first of your best bets.
In race 2, Saganda trialled up nicely prior to debuting, showed good gate speed before taking a sit, came off down the back in that trial and zipped past them really quite smartly, and they ran home 27.6 and recorded a pretty easy trial win, and then on debut bumped into the pretty smart better get on Pip, ended up 3 back the pegs, and that's where she stayed. Was able to beat Highview Hardy and Ruby Lou, who both won races as 2-year-olds. Should be better for that outing, I think, and I think she'll be able to hold out Shuby's double, who's previously shown gate speed. So I think Saganda can lead and prove really hard to catch from the inside draw here over the 2,100.
Okay, so that is race 2, Saganda. Now we get to race number 4 for the next of your best bets today. And, of course, Matt Young threw it out earlier on the Sports Daily that Atlas the Titan was his best bet of the day. How did you play this 4th event on the program?
Seeing this exactly the same way as Matt. Atlas the Titan was an impressive winner last start, doing all the work in the race and proving too good for Relatively Armour, who's seemingly racing towards her top now. Made to work 3 deep early after showing moderate gate speed, did well to stick on what was a rain-affected track, so I think that might have played into the times being potentially a little bit slower than they otherwise would have been. Jimmy Rocks draws inside of him, but he's first up for 6 months. He does have fairly good gate speed, but I do think Atlas the Titan can be driven quite aggressively to potentially take up the front from Jimmy Rocks or potentially World Secret, whoever's first to the pegs. So if he does find the front, Atlas the Titan, I just can't see how he's possibly beaten in this race.
Okay, that is race number 4. And then the last of yours today, you go to race number 5.
In race number 5, it's a race over the short course, the Lightning Lap. Recover Lover has built up a nice record over the short course. 6 placings and 1 win from 14 starts. She's been really consistent. She's generally best served when sat up, save to 1 run. Last shot at them, which she was 2 back, went a nice runner up to Purist Copper. In what was a bit of a dash home, I think she really did look the winner there briefly, but they dashed her pretty quick last quarter, and Purist Copper was too good there. But I don't think that's any knock in this sort of race. Purist Copper goes quite well. Can see Gears in a World wanting to hold the top, given it's gone quite well at this trip, leading, and it could run an okay race at quite large odds, I think. But I'm happy to play Recover Lover each way. The 2 place dividends, because she is a horse that does often look the winner without actually winning. So I think she can run first or second, Recover Lover.
All right, Recover Lover, certainly on the each-way basis there to go with Sagander in race number 2. Race 4, Atlas the Titan, seeing it exactly the same way as Matt Young. Let's turn our attention to tomorrow night here at Gloucester Park. And you heard Rich mention about the fact that the depth of the races in the first half of the program, very, very good. It's a high-quality night of pacing, certainly the front end of it. And the first of yours comes up in race number 3. What way do you go here?
In race 3, it sets up as a really interesting race. There's some horses in this race which are going extremely well at the moment. G. Smith, Star of Willoughby, second last start, and Tri-Real Brigade's going really well. But the main 2 here are What Are the Odds and Codename Marcus. What Are the Odds was an extremely impressive run first up, I thought. But the one I like here is Codename Marcus from the advantageous barrier draw. I thought he was a really quite impressive trial winner away from the stands. He was quite slowly away and settled back in the field. When he pulled out, he dashed up to the leader and went to the line under a hold, 27 on the way home. I thought it was quite eye-catching, that effort. He has pretty good gate speed, which he hasn't shown since he failed after leading at Bunbury. But I think here, if he can get the lead a little bit easier, just with the one horse potentially trying to cross him in What Are the Odds, I think he'd be able to run a really, really big race on the front end, Codename Marcus, and he's already returned quite well from a spell, and if he can hold that advantage, I think he'd run a really good race.
All right, so that is Codename Marcus in race number 3, and then race number 6, the last of your specials.
Class and Smart, I think, is a horse here that could go around quite nice each-way odds. From a bit of an awkward draw, Shannon Savalco jumps back on and has a pretty good record on the horse overall. He's driven it 6 times. It's won 3 times, and it's placed twice, I think. Missing the placings just once. Hang will be hard to beat from the inside draw. But I'm not quite sure he's racing at his absolute peak at the moment. A few runs back from a spell, probably haven't quite been up to his best, and similar with Major Rovers, who was unable to win on Friday after sort of having every chance. I think it could set up for a horse at reasonable each-way odds here to swoop over the top, and I'm hoping that can be Class and Smart.
All right, Class and Smart there in race number 6 to go with Codename Marcus in race number 3 for Ollie tomorrow night at Gloucester Park. Well done last week, Ollie. Let's hope that form can roll on into this week. Enjoy the day of racing down there at Pinjarra today and also towards Gloucester Park tomorrow night. We'll catch up with you again next week.
Thanks very much, Tim.
There is Ollie Cownie and Richie Bell, their wrap-up of Friday night and a look ahead to the next couple of days here in the West. All right, we'll take a very short break. When we come back, Cat Warwick will be with us.
On Tab Radio, Racing and Sport, this is Often Pacing.
And it is great to have your company, and it's also great to have the company of Cat Warwick with us on the program this morning to look ahead to Pinjarra today and get a little update on how a couple of the others in the stable are going. Cat, a very good morning to you.
Good morning, Tim.
Well, you've got a team of 3 heading down to Pinjarra today, and as I mentioned, a couple of others that we will ask you about throughout the course of this interview this morning as well. But let's get stuck into it today if we can, and your day gets underway in race number 2, where we get to see Save Me for the first time. We saw Save Me at the trials last week, obviously, so first time on a racetrack today. What's the expectations with this bloke?
Oh, look, I'm really happy with him. He's sort of a horse that's just come through his preparation and he's done everything correct. He's just done everything we've asked for and he's never had a complaint. And I'm actually really excited to see what he does today because his trials sort of suggest that he's got a bit of ability and, it's exciting time.
Beat the stablemate in the trial. Can you get a little bit of a line-up between the two of them in terms of the opinion that you have of the pair of these two?
Probably a higher opinion of the other 2-year-old, Queen of All, but he did everything right. He's got phenomenal little gate speed, which we can't see today, of course, because he's drawn on the back line. But he follows. He's a perfect little racehorse, so he's going to be amongst them. I have no doubt that he's going to run a super race today.
Okay. All right. That is Save Me in race number 2. Now on to race number 4 where you've got World Secret, who's never too far away. Obviously, we spoke to Matt and Ollie earlier on this morning. Seniors does look hard to beat, but if there is any chinks in the armour of seniors, could World Secret be the one to capitalise on that today?
Well, she's one that's 100% honest every time she hits the track. She tries a little hard out. You've got to rule a line out of Friday night. She had no opportunity there and she actually came back with her pull down still up and the earplug still in. And the report back from Chris said that she was going along really good and they ran a real solid time. So today, again, I would suggest that she's going to put her best foot forward. Is she going to beat Senior's horse? I can't tell for sure, but I know that she's going to do a really good job today.
Okay, so that is in race number 4 on the program. And the last of your 3 comes up in race number 7, and we get to see All Aglow. So first time that she's having a go at the Lightning Lap, has got the all-important draw in her favour. Did you see this as a winnable assignment for her this afternoon?
I hope so. It's a great barrier, that barrier 1 at Pinjarra, isn't it? So it gives her options as well. She does have real good gate speed. And like you said, it's her first try at the 1,200 metre Lightning Lap. So it'll be interesting to see how she goes. I think that she'll run a super race. I've done a couple of corrections on her. Ready for today, that hopefully she'll go a little bit straighter. And I think now with 300 runs under her belt, she's starting to look the part. So I think she'll go and race exceptionally well today.
Is that perhaps the one that is the best winning chance for your stable today? All 3 certainly look to have claims if the circumstances do work in their favour, but All Aglow, the one in particular?
Probably leaning towards her a little bit more. The question mark is, like you say, has she, she hasn't done the short course yet, but I think she can hold on and do enough today to win the race. Okay.
Now, as you can imagine, there's always a lot of interest in a few of your runners that I'll get an update on now. And I've had a few messages saying, can you make sure you ask Kat about All Is Well and how All Is Well is going? Because what we saw last time was a few performances of a horse that's ready to really make a name for himself going forward.
Yeah, and I agree with you, Tim. He's come back in real fine character this time in. I actually think he's improved. He's matured a little bit more, which he always showed signs, even in his younger years, that he just needed a little bit more time to mature and grow into himself. and he's certainly doing that this time around. He's had 2 trials, and both trials have been fantastic. Like his sectional times and his overall times suggest that he's going to have a real good campaign this time in. I know that the trial on Sunday doesn't really indicate that because he didn't run a place, but his own personal time has been really fantastic. He went 1:57.1 in his last quarter and 26.9, and that was pretty much running up the back of him. So I'm looking forward to a real great campaign for this horse, hopefully if everything stays intact.
Fantastic. So that is all is well. Now, another one of your stable stars that have been there and they turn up more often than not, and that is Magnificent. Is there a return on the horizon? Because we know it's been a little while since we've seen Magnificent, who had a little setback since we have seen him last.
Yeah, sure. So Magnificent was all set to put on a great performance for the Pinjarra Cup, but unfortunately he fractured his pastern and had to have a small operation and a screw put in. He has been spelling, and we could have brought him back 3 months after that, but there's really not much point. So I'm looking forward to bringing him in for the summer and giving him a campaign going into that way.
Okay, would it be too early, the Pacing Cup in November, or do you, like you say, just through the summer and see if you can take out a couple of the free-for-alls that we do see over summer, and some of those free-for-alls that over the recent summer period, the numbers just dropped away a little bit?
Well, ideally that would be the point, Tim. However, he has had that setback, so it's a matter of bringing him back and just trying to figure out where he is at this stage of his life, and if he's completely overcome that problem that he's got. Fingers crossed, and from the reports that I've heard, he's nice and sound out at the adjustment farm, and then it shouldn't be a setback. So if there's no setbacks going forward in his campaign, well, that will be the main aim, to try and get him into the feature races coming into summer.
Fantastic, and he certainly would deserve his shot at that. Now, the last one that I wanted to ask you about, Hold the Ammo. So this was a notable absentee from the Sales Classic back in February. Is there potentially a return in sight for Hold the Ammo in the not-too-distant future?
Yeah, he's back in work, and he was actually nominated for the Western Crown. I think that's the Western Crown. However, he got an abscess in one of his feet, which we've been trying to draw out, which he's overcome now. So he'll be back shortly, and he'll start training down properly again, ready for trials in the not-so-distant future.
Fantastic. Well, Kat, thank you so much for taking our call this morning. We do appreciate it, and we look forward to catching up with you again very soon. Good luck today, and good luck with a few of those returning stable stars.
Sure. Thanks, Tim.
There is Kat Warwick rounding out Often Pacing for today. So just to recap, the best bets from Ollie Cownie today. Race 2, he is with Saganda. Race 4, he is with Atlas the Titan and Recover Lover on the each-way basis in race number 5. Tomorrow night, right here at Gloucester Park, he's with Codename Marcus in race 3, and with Class and Smart there in race number 6, taking on what we expect to be a pretty short price favourite in Heng Heng. So that is Ollie Cownie's thoughts over the next couple of days. Going to leave you in the capable hands of Peter O'Neill for the first part of race day. Good luck to everyone down there at Pinjarra today and Gloucester Park tomorrow night. Thank you for your time and your company on Often Pacing this morning. Look forward to your company again next week.
Imagine what you could be buying instead. For free and confidential support, visit gamblinghelpline.org.au. Imagine what you could be buying instead. For free and confidential support, visit gamblinghelpline.org.au.